moment like that, I don't know where I'd be right now. It's after having the trauma of a brain injury and going to some really deep moments of darkness. And as I mentioned earlier, at no point I had the feeling to want to end my life or do anything stupid. And I really think that it was that moment that I realised that Jesus is my saviour. Hello, my name is Aaron Morris. I'm 41 years old. I currently live in Adelaide in Australia, and this is my story of conversion to the Catholic Church. Born in Port Lincoln, which is a small seaside town on Lower Eyre Peninsula here in South Australia. I was fortunate enough to grow up with my two loving parents and my brother, who is 1 year younger than me. So that meant as we were growing up, we were quite competitive with each other. I still to this day have a very healthy rivalry with my brother, and we continue that. Back in the younger days, we were lucky that we did live a bit out of town. So as young children, we'd be playing in the paddocks with the sheep, or we'd be running around down to the beach, riding our bikes. And we certainly weren't naughty children. We were just a bit cheeky. We would like to play jokes and pranks on people and have a bit of a laugh. There were lots of kids in the area where we grew up. So we still have great friends to this day where we played sport together, had lots of good times, sailed. Hockey was a big part of our life there. Most of our friends there played hockey. So growing up with our friends and family from a youngster, this high to a grasshopper, all the way through to adulthood playing sport with each other, we did develop some lifelong relationships which we still regularly share through this period of our lives. As an infant, I was baptised into the Lutheran Church. My mum's side of the family, who immigrated out from Europe post the Second World War, were Lutherans. And when I was born, and my brother as well, we were both baptised into the Lutheran Church. We were, semi-regular. As young children, we would be going on Sundays to Sunday school, semi-regular with the services, as well as major events like funerals, weddings, Easter and Christmas. So it didn't play what I would call a large part of my life growing up, especially probably up until about 12 years old. My parents were firm believers in the Ten Commandments. They believed that if they lived their life under those teaching and morals, they would grow up to be good humans. We were never really exposed to the teachings of Jesus or the Bible, as I would say, from a religious aspect, that they used it more as just a way to live our life. I didn't really know anything else. Having two parents that were in love and still to this day are together, and much to my disgust still regularly show their affection to each other. I never got to see the bad side of divorce or family breakups, or I wouldn't say it was a sheltered childhood, because we knew that this happened, but I never personally experienced any of it myself. At around 20 years of age, I made the move to Adelaide and started study, as well as working here in Adelaide. And that took the turn a couple of ways. I both explored different careers, trying to figure out exactly what I'd be interested in, and if you ask my parents, I flip-flopped around for a little while, not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I took some time off and went travelling with my girlfriend at the time, who ended up becoming my first wife. We packed everything up and went travelling for 3 months through sections of Australia, just to try and figure out life and explore and to see what things were about. And by the time I returned from that trip, I realised that I wanted to do something in the electrical field. I've always had a keen interest in anything to do with power, electricity, pulling apart toasters as a child, trying to figure out how kettles work. Religion was questionable, not just the Catholic Church, but religion in general, because hanging around with lots of technical, academic people, they questioned everything and had to prove everything as being right. And that it did rub off on me. I started to question a lot of, why are we here? We're just on a rock spinning around the sun at 1,000,000 miles an hour, flying through space, and this was what just happened, and one day we were here. And apart from some fleeting thoughts like these, it never really paid a lot of service in my thought process. I live life as an engineer, thinking that everything is questionable, has an answer, and the only way to get there is this. And the way we feel things is chemistry. It's not for any other reason. As I approached my early 30s, I had enough gusto about myself. I thought, I can do this better than anybody else can. And I went out on my own and started my own business, thinking I was unstoppable and everything I was doing was right. And for the first 18 months, 2 years, everything went really, really well. I built a business that employed 11 people and we were turning over just over $3 million. And I thought I had the world at my fingertips and I was going to take over the world by being me, and everything was about me and nothing else. And this is where probably the first of my life questioning experiences occurred, where I went into business with a business partner who turned out to be a serial con artist, and he ripped me off of a lot of money to the point where I had to close the company down and essentially start again. And in that process, lost everything from cars to belongings to everything that to pay back the debt and chaos that had been left behind by this event. As a part of this business collapse and the stress and everything that all this posed and the damage that it left behind, my wife at the time and I separated and then divorced. Which was not the most pleasant experience. I can tell you that anyone that tells you divorce is easy, I think is probably not being truthful. It's an incredibly damaging experience and it hurt me a lot, and especially to see what it did to the children as well. At the stage that this all happened, my boys were quite young, and they didn't really understand why mummy and daddy were going their separate ways. And at that stage in myself, I thought I was doing the right thing, and I was quite cocky about taking the kids and still rebuilding my life, and nothing could slow me down and nothing could stop me. And I continued to believe that and started going back to get back into work, and then decided to take a holiday. And by this stage, I decided I wanted to go to Europe and visit my relatives over in Germany and Austria, and booked the flight, had everything organised, jumped on the plane, and halfway between Kuala Lumpur and Germany, I got up on the middle of the flight and I need to go to the toilet. So I felt my way down the aisle because it was quite dark, and went, and then on my return, the next thing I remember is I woke up on the floor with the lights on in the plane and half the plane looking at me, and I couldn't figure out what had happened. And there was a gentleman leaning over me saying, "Are you okay?" And at first I thought my head really hurts. I wasn't sure what had happened and why I was lying on the floor in the aisle of a plane. And it turned out that I'd had a fall on the plane, and I guess the best that can be surmised from that moment is that I'd put my hands out to probably feel the next headrest and missed, because I was in a different part of the plane, and missed everything and fell forward and actually hit my head here and here on the aluminium frame on the side of the plane. And that knocked me out for 25 minutes. And during that, I had a tonic-clonic seizure. And as a result of that, suffered a severe brain injury. And I was just lucky that, as in every good Hollywood movie, there was a doctor on the plane. So when we landed in Germany, there was an ambulance waiting at the plane, and I can assure you it's the quickest way to get through customs that you'll ever have. But not the most fun way to be wheelchaired off a plane and arrive in a hospital in a foreign country where I didn't speak the language and I didn't understand what was happening because my brain was slush. And having to understand and comprehend it all was quite overwhelming. And so I did briefly catch up with the family, but did change the plans and came back to Australia, where I had medical attention here. And as a result of what happened to me, I didn't quite understand how severe a brain injury can be and what it's actually done to my brain and the damage to my body. And It was only after coming back here and having more scans done and realising that I damaged 3 of the vertebrae in my neck. I've permanently damaged my vestibular, my balance sensor, in my left side of my head. And there was I lost teeth as well. And realising that, I couldn't function the same way. I couldn't walk properly like I used to. I couldn't talk properly. I had to see a speech pathologist. And to this day, I still don't have full feeling in the bottom part of my left leg. But still, there was an underlying part of me that went, I'm better than this. I can do this. I'll be back to normal. I'll be doing what I used to do and everything will be fine. And it took an unfortunate series of events to realise that that wasn't the case, because throughout all this, the pain that I was experiencing, I was issued endone. And endone is an opioid-based pain medication, which, as a pain relief medication, it does wonderful things, but it is extremely addictive. And I found myself wanting more and more of it and using it as a way to get out of life and not worry about things, and not understanding why people were trying to help me and slow me down and help get through this process. I just wanted to be back out doing things. And when I kept getting told no, I would get upset and I would take more endone. And then eventually they cut the supply because they realised I would become dependent on it. And I thought, well, I still need something, because at this point I still wasn't allowed to drive after having the seizure. And I hadn't been given the medical clearance to return to work yet. So I thought, well, in the afternoons, what can a couple of glasses of wine hurt? And a couple turned into a bit more. And after a while, I realised I was using alcohol as a way to end the day and just not have to worry about the kids were with my ex-wife at this stage. Not have to worry about them. And while I try and piece my life back together, but all it was doing was sending me further into a downward spiral. And it took a long time for me to really understand that that kind of personal abuse is not the way to get out of that cycle and return to normal life. And I don't want to self-harm or take my own life. There was something bigger at play that kept telling me to go on. There's a reason why you're here. Just keep going forward. And I couldn't, for a long time, put my finger on why I was getting this message, I guess, that it's not time to hang up the boots and walk away. This is, keep going. There's something coming. And then I did the right thing, and I did see professional help to find ways to not rely on any external person or external influence, be it alcohol, drugs, to make myself feel complete. During this period, I was still trying to get my life back together, and by this stage, become more regular with the children and be more present with my friends and family who had supported me through my whole injury and post what happened. And it was then that I met Joe, and we first met, and I never thought that I would meet anyone quite like her. To meet someone that's so calm, so understanding, and I couldn't believe how patient she was when we first met. I was open about some aspects of my past that I thought would send most people running a mile away. And after a while, we got chatting a bit more about why she was like this and why she, conducted herself in the way that she did. And I realised then how much her faith helped her and provided her a way to see things the way that she does and have a greater understanding, which I yet at that point didn't have. So we spoke more about it as we started to build our relationship and get closer. And after a while, between her and her parents going to Mass every week and other events within the Catholic Church, I thought, I think I need to learn more about this. I think that the message I had growing up and what I've been told through the workplace and through different circles in life about faith and about the Catholic Church might actually be wrong. And I thought, I really do have to give this a go. And I'll still never forget when I first had this moment, I thought, I'm going to do this. And it happened to be Easter. And I knew that Easter is a very big event for the Catholic Church. And I thought, I'll go to this. I thought, how bad could this be? I'll go and experience what it's like at one of the big events, get a really good understanding of what happens in the Catholic Church, and I thought, this will be good. And Joe kept saying to me, are you sure you want to come to Easter? I said, yeah, I'll come to the vigil. It sounds really good. And she said to me again, are you sure you want to come to the vigil mass? I said, yeah, this would be a great way for me. And she kept saying, are you sure you want to come? Now I understand why she kept asking me, because after about 3 hours, I'm scratching my head going, is this ever going to end? And afterwards we did have a bit of a laugh about it, because I happened to pick probably one of the longest services of the year. But it was, I guess, a bit of a, excuse the pun, but baptism by fire of getting to see what happens inside, and then meeting some of the people and having the opportunity to pull down my walls and talk to people and hear their own views and their own enthusiasm and what they're getting from this. And I thought, I think I need to learn more. And then it became aware to me that there was a program called the RCIA program. And a friend of mine who I know quite well, he said, you should come and have a look and just see. And I thought, in my head, alarm bells are ringing going, this might be a pressure cell. You know, am I expected to buy steak knives and a vacuum cleaner at the end of this? The first few weeks, I was a little, probably standoffish, a little cautious. But after a while, I really did relax and changed my thoughts every time I went there, from being from my head to my heart and going, these people are genuine. What they're teaching and what they're saying is a real thing. And I thought, I need to learn more. I need to learn more. Because every time I learned a little bit more, it led to something else. It led to something else. And the more questions I asked, the answers I got back, things started to fall into place. We were about 6 weeks from the completion of the program. We were then asked as a group to go away and make the decision whether we would like to be confirmed into the Catholic Church. I left that night in the car with Joe and I was saying, look, I think I do. It's not even a question to me. What had happened and the way being nurtured into and exposed, not being thrust upon me, but just introducing and telling the story, the narrative about what it means and the stories behind it and some of the events and why they mean what they mean. And that also helped me, I guess, dispel some of my earlier beliefs about the Catholic Church. So getting back to the conversation in the car, that I literally made the decision on the spot and let them know that that was my intention, and went through and registered and got ready for the big event, which was held at the cathedral on the Easter Vigil Mass, which was quite special to me as well. And we were lucky that the Archbishop was there and he conducted the night's proceedings, and it was a very, very special night. My parents came to watch because I'd come to a point where this was part of my life, and as this all happened, it really started to make sense to me to understand that there is someone walking beside you, and in the times of hardship or pain, that you've got someone that can share that burden with you. However, I look at my journey, and I didn't start my life as a Catholic, but I know I'm going to end my life as a Catholic. And when the transition came to me and when it called to me in that way, I was ready, and I'm offering the same thing to my children. Joe and I profess our faith in our home openly, and hopefully the boys will see this and see the difference it's made to my life and the person I've become because of this experience, that they might decide to follow in their father's footsteps. You know, whether it be my personal life, my professional life, having that faith and that belief behind me is really helped me as an individual calm myself down and be a better person, a better husband, a better father. And that's reflected even further into my relationship with my wife. Joanne and I now share a common deep faith in what we do and how we do it. And, you know, even just taking the time each day to pray together and spend those few moments together, it has become very special. It's quite easy to get lost in technology and media, everything happening all at once and being distracted by the bright and shiny thing down the road. But to take those moments of prayer and be with my wife, it's incredibly special because we're not alone in that process either. And when we do have those moments, it brings us closer. We have a deep trust in each other and a deep belief that we know that each other are going to do the right thing. So, it's also allowed us to build a very healthy sense of humour, because we can joke about things with each other and we know that at the end of the day, we're going to do the right thing. The first time I met Jo, I knew there was something different about her. I just had the feeling that she was going to be a part of my life. And now the relationship we have, I can see why. We share everything together, and that there's no jealousy or no questioning our commitment to each other, because we just know this is meant to be. And every day our relationship gets stronger and deeper. And we've a lot to thank God for this, because we know that this is our journey to be together. Without a moment like that, I don't know where I'd be right now. It's after having the trauma of a brain injury and going to some really deep moments of darkness. And as I mentioned earlier, at no point I had the feeling to want to end my life or do anything stupid. And I really think that it was that moment that I realised that Jesus is my saviour. He was there through that whole time with me, standing by my side saying, Aaron, keep coming. Your moment will come. And that was the moment. And it really has changed my life profoundly. There's no question about that, and for all the right reasons. It's something that I'll never forget, and I enjoy every day to its fullest. And I look forward to what the future holds with this, because I've got lots of learning to do and lots more people to meet and lots more moments to share in contemplation, in prayer, and in laughter and happiness with friends and family. And it's been one of the best things that could have happened to me in my life. There's no question about that. I'm very proud to be a Catholic here in Australia, sharing this journey with my Catholic brothers and sisters all across the world.
Are you searching for purpose of life? Discover your true identity. Stay tuned to Shalom World.